Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Tingling Tea. Here at the Tingling Tea, we talk about the strange and the supernatural, the weird and the wonderful, the creepy and the cryptid, and all that is phenomenally freaky. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in my illustrious co-host. Tonight with me always is my wonderful, beautiful friend, Annabelle Chimpton.
Oh,
Hello.
hello.
Hello. Happy Thursday.
Oh, very happy Thursday to you.
Well, every day is Thursday. Every happy Thursday
Every
is
day
happy.
is Thursday
No,
here at the
every
Tingling Tea.
right. No, every Thursday is happy when we have the tingling tea. How about that one?
And every happy day is Thursday.
Right. And without further ado, let us bring in our other illustrious co-host, the wonderful, knowledgeable Mr. Augie Ediamanes.
Hello.
How are you?
What happened to all of my beautiful adjectives today?
I'm running out. Let me tell you something. Considering how my day has been, I am tired. I'm all out of adjectives, honey. I looked in my bag and that was empty. So I don't have any today.
But you do have cool earrings today, I have to say.
Oh, thank you.
Cool.
Look at those.
Thank you. So these are my as you all know, I am, have Native American heritage, and I was actually supposed to go to Carlisle Cemetery last week for Memorial Day, or a week before last for Memorial Day, to lay flowers on the graves of all the children that had died at the Carlisle school. And there's a lot of controversy about that, which we won't get into, because that also has something to do with what happened at Kamloops in Canada recently, where they found 215 children buried in a mass grave. But
that was horrible, by the way.
Yeah,
that news was just unbelievable.
Yeah. So, we could get into that some other time, because I there's actually some hauntings associated with these untimely deaths of these children at these schools. Maybe one time we'll get into this. But anyway, so I was supposed to go, and we were going to do a ceremony and everything, and I didn't have any indigenous earrings. So I found these indigenous earrings on Amazon. They give you 6. They're very inexpensive. They're extremely lightweight, but they are really, really beautiful. And I find that with headsets on and having these earrings on, it actually makes kind of like a statement, So I love these earrings. I think I'm going to end up buying more. But right now, all these colors fit all my outfits. So this is going to be like pretty much a staple for me until I get sick of it. And then I'll stop wearing them and wear something else.
I was going to say, you solved the age-old problem.
Yes.
Wearing a headset and fun earrings at the same
time. Exactly. And it's just the truth, because I have worn hoops with headsets on. And it was so uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable. And I was
it makes them stick out like sideways.
Exactly. So I said, hey, these actually work, and it kind of gives your face some definition. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do these. These are really.
I love them. They're beautiful on you, Les.
Thank you. Well, hey, if you want a pair, if you're nice enough, you might get some for your birthday. So we'll see. Anyway,
cheap and lightweight. That's what I go for.
Well, that's the important thing, is that they're lightweight and they're unique. They're very unique.
They don't make your earlobes droop.
Oh no. And I have seen some of my girlfriends have actually torn their pierced ear from having too heavy of an earring in their ear. They've actually elongated the hole that was there. I've had these holes in my ears since I was like 5 or 6 years old. So I'm going to make sure that I take care of them and make sure that I give them something that's not too weighty to be hanging around. Because if it gets that, then I'm going to have to end up putting one of those circles in my ears at the end of my ear loop, like everybody's wearing right now. So let's get on. Well, you all, I have to tell you, I must love you all. I must love you all very much, because I am sitting here with you all tonight when none other than and oh, by the way, we're still celebrating Pride Month. So I just want to say happy Pride. So our content tonight, you all, is geared towards that. I just want to let you know. Happy Pride. Also, I do want to say too, if you are watching us for the first time, and or you're watching us and you have kids around, we ask that you use parental discretion when we talk about this particular content. This is 8 o'clock, so we do talk about adult content. And if you don't like things that are scary, we ask you to turn us off or turn us down because we do go into topics like that. But anyway, I digress. I am saying that I wanted to particularly say that I must love you all and I must love our fans because tonight in the Heights is airing. And I have to tell you, I have been waiting for this for so long, and it airs tonight on HBO Max. I'm telling you, just watching the video, watching the trailer for this, I mean, I seriously got teary-eyed. But it's talking about our own Washington Heights. Eddie, you understand that. Annabelle, you being where you are, you don't know very much about Washington Heights, but this is very iconic.
I know nothing. Could you give some context?
I can give you context on this. So Washington Heights is a little bit above Harlem, would you say, Augie?
Yeah, to the west and above Harlem, yeah.
Right. And it is a mecca for people of the Latino influence. So if you want to go there, if you want to get Dominican food, you want to get Puerto Rican food, you want to hear salsa, you want to dance merengue, all of that stuff is pretty much congregated in Washington Heights. And there are a lot of Latino people that live in Washington Heights and have big dreams about getting out and becoming something and representing their family very well.
It's also a beautiful area of Manhattan. It's very hilly. Like you don't think of Manhattan as hilly, at least I don't. But it's very hilly. It's gorgeous. They have beautiful views. Like it's a beautiful section of Manhattan.
Yeah, it's extremely beautiful. And there is even a street in Washington Heights that looks like a street from the Caribbean. I actually did a commercial on that street where we were dancing like it was carnival in South America. So it looks so realistic. Yes. The street is cobblestone and all the brownstones are different colors. So, I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. I love Washington Heights. Washington Heights has a very special place in my heart for a lot of reasons. One, it was the first time I did an internship at a resident home, like a retirement home, when I was a patient care technician. So I worked in Washington Heights, and also I found majarete there. And majarete is everybody eats flan as a dessert, which is really pretty much a Puerto Rican dish, a Puerto Rican dessert or postre. But majarete is a Dominican dessert, and it's very hard to find. It's a cornstarch pudding. And I only had it when I used to go to the Dominican Republic when I was a flight attendant. And every time I go into a bodega that's, Dominican, I was like, where's the majarete? And they were like, oh, we only have flan. And I was like, you ain't Dominican. You ain't got no majarete.
Posers.
Yeah, posers. But they always say, oh my gosh, majarete. Oh my gosh. Do you think anybody would want that? I was like, I want majarete. Y'all, it's like a custard corn pudding that is so freaking amazing. Amazing. I found it in Washington Heights and I literally almost cried. Not only that, I found shakes, fruit shakes, which we call batidas, that they make it with milk and ice and stuff like that. And I found those. I think it's batido or batida. I can't remember if it's an A or an O. But I found that there too. So I'm just saying that if you've ever visited New York City, you definitely have to go to Washington Heights. It is a sight to see. You really kind of immerse yourself into Latin culture. But anyway, this particular musical was on Broadway. It was Lin-Manuel Miranda's first big musical that he ever did that actually put him on the mark.
And it was big. It was
huge.
It was a big Broadway show. Like people weren't sure if it was going to be good at the beginning, but it just took off. People loved it. Yeah.
The music is very good. And if you know anything about Lin-Manuel, he is a spoken word hip hop rap artist, and he writes a lot of his dialogue as music. And this has hip hop and Latino undertones, Hispanic undertones to the music. A little bit of salsa, a little bit of merengue, a little bit of bachata.
Doesn't he still live in Washington Heights? Doesn't he still live in there? I think he still lives there.
He still lives there in Washington Heights. I'm telling you that he totally encompassed what it was. He actually showed, if you could put that in a musical, that's what he did. He put it in this musical. So every feel, every look, every emotion is in this musical. And I also have, a connection to this musical because when I was in the movie camp, Robin de Jesus got casted in The Heights, and that was the first time that he was seen. He was actually nominated for a Tony for a new and up and coming artist from In the Heights.
Right.
Wow.
So he was in the original Broadway show.
The original Broadway show of In the Heights, yes. So of course this has been recast with like Leslie Grace and some other people. So it airs tonight, and I cannot wait to see it. I mean, there's a lot of hype around it. Of course, you have to understand that the Latino community is very excited about people being able to see this side of their life.
Yeah.
So very, very good.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it.
Well, I can't wait to hear what you think about it and the music. And if people don't know who Lin-Manuel Miranda is, he did write Hamilton.
That's right. Or Robin de Jesus, he's in The Boys in the Band.
And he's in The Boys in the Band.
He was in there on Broadway and in the one that's the movie that came out last year.
Exactly. And this guy right here, that's the middle guy right there. He actually was in Hamilton, if you remember his face, if you did get to see Hamilton.
Oh, so, I've seen Hamilton.
Yeah. So that you'll recognize that guy in the center there. All right, so let's go on. So Loki had also aired on Thursday night. Yes. And there's something very significant about Loki. Loki being a Marvel hero, of course.
What could that be?
Well, here's the interesting thing about Loki. So Loki is the mischievous and devious brother of Thor. And if you watch any of the Marvel lore, you know about Loki. I mean, Loki has appeared in a lot of the Avenger movies and such, and the Thor movies. But the thing is that Loki, let's talk about him. So he basically comes in and disrupts the situation. He changes history. He does all this other kind of stuff. And he comes in different forms. He could be a male. He could be a female. And I don't really know if he shapeshifts into animals, but I know he specifically shapes into males and females. And he's actually changed the course of history, representing somebody that he is not. But the thing is that this is a Disney show. Disney usually doesn't doesn't actually discuss gender identity. But for the first time ever, Loki has been listed as gender fluid.
Nice.
Yes.
And this is huge for Disney. Because Disney never touches on the LGBTQ lifestyle. But now we know what it is and we can define it. It's obvious he is gender fluid. It's obvious. Right. So we're going to see this gender fluid identity in the Loki series that just now started. You're going to see him transform into different people, to change history or change a situation. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, bravo Disney for basically saying that you do know what a rainbow means.
Yeah, bravo Disney for finally doing the bare minimum.
I'm even happy. I'm even happy with the bare minimum because we all know that from Frozen there was always this speculation about the sister being, lesbian
or High School Musical.
I mean, yes. So they've never come out and say it, but this is the first time they've actually put it on something. So that we know. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. So I'm very excited to be looking at this. This is Tom Hiddleston. I love him as Loki. I can't imagine anybody else playing this character. But I mentioned to this young lady that's playing one of the guards. She actually played in Lovecraft Country, and I actually cannot remember her name. She's a beautiful sister, but I can't remember her name. But she's actually Loki. I'm very surprised to see that, so I'm looking forward to it. So check out Loki on Disney if you do have a Disney Plus. All right.
Gender fluid. What does this picture remind you of?
Well, this definitely reminds you of The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
But another movie that came out, of course, and this is something much more up our alley, is The Conjuring 3. The Devil Made Me Do It.
The Devil Made Me Do It.
This is another appearance of...
That's what I always say.
Exactly, don't we all? This is another appearance of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and actually comes from one of their cases, where this particular case is about, let me just pull up some details about it.
I can talk about it.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's about first of all, it's about what they believe is a possession at the beginning of the movie. And what you're seeing here is the exorcist going to the house of the possessed child. Now the child this is actually the story that The Exorcist was based on. So this is a young boy, and we're talking like 8 years old, who, a real story that's documented as the only documented case, or the first documented case of an exorcism happening in North America. And it's approved by the Catholic Church. And they go in, and Ed and Lorraine are supporting this family. They were actually the ones who the family called first. It happened in Connecticut, not too far from where I grew up. And in fact, in the movie, you see people attending courthouses and things like that are literally supposed to take place in the town where I grew up. So at any rate, Ed and Lorraine Warren are working with this young child. And you can see him here on the right. He's not doing yoga there. He's actually possessed, believe it or not. And then on the left, you see his brother, and his brother is struggling with seeing his young brother going through this. And at some point, similar to The Exorcist, he asks his brother to go into him. And so that what they believe is a demon possesses the brother instead. And so the rest of the movie follows the journey of the brother and what he has to do to rid himself of this possession.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I have to say. I was lucky enough to meet Ed and Lorraine Warren when I was a kid, and they managed to freak the heck out of me when I was in high school. So this is the type of case that they would talk about when I went to their seminars. So when I attended their seminars, and they would have pictures of things like this, and they would have recordings. And this was an actual recording that they played at one of the seminars of the child, and the young child was speaking in various voices.
Wow.
Yeah, it's worth a look. I watched it last week, the day that it came out.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to watch it. My husband was watching it, and I could hear it upstairs. I was like, wait a minute, are you watching The Conjuring 3 without me?
I can't believe you would watch that without you.
Oh my goodness,
I would be having a serious intervention if I were you.
I would go conjure something up there. That's for sure.
That is so true. We're over because he's watching it without me.
That's it.
We're
done. The last straw.
Yep, he's over. It's over. It's over. Anyway. So let's get into our series again of Djinns in June. Okay, so the last time yes, I had to change it up a little bit.
I can't believe you. What's that poor Will Smith? What did he ever do to you?
Nothing. But I always put this image up there because this is what people's image of is when they see a djinn, or what we call genies.
Yeah, they're friendly.
No. Honey, they're not.
Have you not paid any attention in the last two?
Obviously not. Maybe I need to re-show those videos that I showed of those djinns that we had. I actually did have some more stuff, but I'll bring something for our next talk about djinns. I'll bring some new updated footage of djinns and djinn infestations. But anyway, let me just give a brief description of this so that people who didn't get to watch our show last week understand who they are. So with us in the Christian faith, we believe in evil spirits, demons, and devils. This is what they are called. Djinns are what are demons and devils in the Islamic faith. And these are very evil spirits that possess people, that possess locations, that tempt people, do everything. They are talked about in the verses of the Quran and the Hadiths, and they are angels basically that have fallen from heaven. Pretty much what we believe devils are. They live in places like deserts and wastelands, water, and they inhabit human bodies. And they can change forms. They're known to present themselves as something else, and you have to be very mindful and probably very a person that walks in faith to understand what is a Djinn and what is not. So let's go into our first Djinn. And I just want to express the fact that we basically have kind of romanticized these characters when in actuality they're very demonic. Interestingly enough, the reasons why whenever we see a genie in a bottle, it's because they've been cast out into this bottle. And opening up this bottle, like some of them say, I've been in this bottle for, so many times or whatever, they have to grant these 3 wishes. But with every wish, there is a consequence. So just to let you know, finding a genie in your bottle is definitely not always the best thing. Anyway, so let's go into our first one, which is the ghoul. Now, most of us know what a ghoul is. We've actually heard about ghouls in our own folklore and myth. But in Arabic folklore, this creature is associated with graveyards, and he consumes human flesh. So there have been times where people have been buried in graves and actually then have been found, as if they've been gnawed on afterwards. And they believe that what ended up happening with them is that they were eaten by a ghoul.
Wait, the dead people ate them?
Yes.
Wait, he ate dead people?
He eats the human flesh of the dead. Yes.
Oh, I don't feel so bad about that.
It's still,
if it was like living people, I'd be like a little freaked out.
Here's the thing. I think that it's probably much more easier for it to consume a newly dead body than to find actually a human being. But it's not to say that they would not come after a human being. It's just that it's much more accessible at a graveyard. Now, they do say that this is a desert-dwelling Djinn. It's a shapeshifter. It's a very evil demon, and it can assume the guise of an animal, especially a hyena. There have been actual sightings of ghouls, which, of course, like I said, I could maybe bring that up next week, of people who have actually seen them in graveyards. They look white. They have eyes that glow, and people have seen them. They think that they call them cryptids, but I believe that they're actually ghouls.
They have really bad breath too.
I'm sure they do after eating.
I heard that if you eat dead bodies, you have bad breath.
Yeah. You can see it. Look at this photo. You can see it.
Well, they say that it preys on young children. It drinks blood. It steals coins, and it eats the dead. And it takes the coins. And it says that it also takes the form of the person it has most recently eaten. So if somebody that died after they've eaten, and you all of a sudden see that person walking around, chances are that that's a ghoul who has taken over its body. If it is a female, it is known as a ghoulé. And the plural word for ghoul is gilan.
Okay.
So, yeah. So they believe them to be very nefarious and gluttonous. And then the next one that we're going to talk about is the silat. Okay, I don't know what happened to that T there, but okay, we'll have to go past that. So what is the salat? It is a centaur-like Djinn. It's an expert shapeshifter, and is able to mimic a human's appearance with ease, and said to be the smartest of all the Djinns. They mostly appear as beautiful women, and they tend to live in forests and desert oases. So, yeah. Now, the thing about it is, remember, I think the last week we were talking about some of these Djinns actually having a penchant for human beings and actually being attracted to human beings and actually liking them.
Yeah.
This is one of those. It has a penchant for human beings. I mean, it's one that would sit down and have a conversation with a human being and not even harm it, and has actually fallen in love with human beings, as per my previous picture of it.
Yeah, we also saw one last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, about the Djinn that created the dust storms and created the the oasis within the desert as well.
Right?
That was I think that was the Mirad. Was that the Mirad? Yeah, I can't remember. No, maybe not. I have to remember which one it is. I'm starting to become like an expert on these, knowing their names. No, the Mirad was the one that lives in water. The Ifrit is the evil shape-shifting Djinn that most of us see that are in bottles. And then the last one that we talked about last week was Jeez, I can't remember it.
Don't
do that to me. But this
I get kicked off the show in under 5 seconds.
Obviously. So this Salat is also similar to the one that we were talking about. This one does not. He also lives in Oasis, and it also is not malicious. It's not usually malicious. It just attempts to help humans with their problems, which often make it worse. And I would say that a Salat or that other type of Djinn that we see in bottles are mostly made of these type of creatures that try to help humans, but it also becomes something, yeah.
So this is a Salat?
A Salat, yes. Salat.
So that a slut?
Salat, yes.
Slut?
Not slut, Salat. And it's
I'm sorry, I'm literally 12 years old on the inside. I do apologize.
It is a centaur type being. Centaur type being. So I would think it would be more like what we consider to be centaurs that have been in like folklore, like excuse me, like Hercules or something like that, or Xena.
Yeah.
They were actually really good creatures. That went on to have families and stuff like that. But that's kind of what a Salat is.
This image reminds me of Where the Wild Things Are.
Yes, it does.
It really does, doesn't it? I was trying to I was like, this looks like something I know.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah,
it definitely does.
Well, you can say that nothing is ever new because obviously they must have looked at some of these pictures to create the characters in Where the Wild Things Are.
I bet you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because this is very old, this picture. All right, and so the last one that I want to mention tonight is the Nus. The Nus. Now, what is the Nus?
Is that like in half?
Yes. So the Nus is another form of a Djinn. It's a hybrid of a human-like and animal-like form. It may account for some of our encounters that we have with mysterious creatures that we can't understand. Okay. In the book of 1001 Nights, as a half-human being, it was in that book. It was described that as in the book, which is an old, Islamic fairy tale, basically. So it's half a head, half a body, one arm, one leg, and it hops about on its single leg. Okay. Now, they said that the Nus is the offspring of the Shik. And the Shik, I have to look into that, what it is, but I'm assuming that it is a type of Djinn. And it also is that it's part Shik and it's part human being.
Wait, part chick, like chicken? Like little chick? Oh, Shik.
Shik. Shiqq.
Shik,
right.
Got it.
Yeah. So, it's a very interesting creature. Now, not much is said about this particular creature, if it is, evil. I have to go into it a little bit in depth about it. But obviously, there is some reason why it must be born with only half a body. And I assume that because when a demon lives in is an interdimensional being, that the human part lives in our world and the other half of this being lives in the interdimensional world. So what we're seeing is just one half of this creature.
Spooky.
Yeah, very spooky. Very spooky.
That was an interesting photo because it was like not all the same half.
Yeah. So it has one leg, one arm. So it doesn't matter. It just a portion of it is, and I'm assuming, like I said, I'm assuming whatever portion of it is the demon is what we're not seeing. But either way, the image is still horrifying if you come across this.
I would be shocked if I saw half a person.
Yeah,
I have to admit.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to agree with you there.
Yeah. So that's it on this. I will have more Djinns for June, and our next thing, and maybe some footage of some Djinns that I've come across, recently.
Good. By the way, I love the pride flag with the blood on it. That is so cool.
Oh, thank you. Well, I wish I could say that I could claim this graphic as one that I did. I actually found this one, but it's so gorgeous.
In the
for
skull.
us, the skull and everything, because it is so typically this. But we are doing this feature on LGBTQIA+2, of course, in horror. And tonight's segment, one of our segments is brought to us by Annabelle, and that is LGBTQ horror games.
Yes. So I thought it would be really good to talk about a couple games that have some representation. I think there's a lot of these games that are out there, right? That I'm sure that we know about because we've played them and we've seen them. And then there's also some of these games that are not so great. So I'm just going to start from the top of this list that I have provided tonight, and we're going to get the absolute worst representation out of the way first.
All right.
Okay. So let
Sound
me
good to everybody?
Sounds good. Let me just bring all of this up real quick.
So by the worst representation, you're talking about like this is LGBTQ+2 representation where they're not put in a positive light, they're put in a negative light. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so
so we're gonna include one of these because I think it's important. And then after this, I'm gonna take you on a journey into all really good games.
Okay.
Really good gay, trans, and everything people in them.
Cool.
Okay.
So give us your bad one first.
So number one, Resident Evil Dead Aim. Les, are you familiar with this one?
Yes, I am.
This is a light gun game. So it's not a traditional
It's not the traditional
Resident Evil game. So the reason this game has been included is because it has a character in it named Morpheus. You can go ahead and go to the next picture.
Okay. Let me pull up Morpheus. Hold on one second. I don't think this is a good idea, what I'm doing. Hold on.
Are you able to unzip all of them and then just open one and you can...
Yeah, let me try to see if I can unzip them all.
So Morpheus is the antagonist in this and is a character that identifies as male. Mm-hmm. He's obsessed with beauty and hints at having a number of gender reassignment surgeries.
What?
So here he is.
Let's pull this up. Because this is obviously, I actually have to download all these films, all of these pictures.
Images?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these images in order for us to see it. So let me just pull this up into a better view for everybody.
Go into the zip extractor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The zip extractor.
Keep talking. Just keep talking.
I'll just keep talking. Yeah. Hey, Les, would it be better if I share my screen?
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it. So Morpheus looked like just a long blonde-haired person with a long trench coat.
Yeah, kind of generic white guy antagonist, I'd say, in a horror game.
Okay. But for some reason, he's having sex reassignment surgery?
Well, no, here's the thing is at the end of the game, the kind of finale is that I guess he's so injured that he injects himself with the like Resident Evil virus thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of been giving these hints about being more gender fluid, and he turns into this type of zombie.
Yes, I do remember this. I totally remember this.
Now you might, if you can't tell, this zombie is a little more feminine, including
I can tell,
having high heel zombie feet.
That's impressive to have high heel, like literal part of your anatomy, high heel zombie feet.
Oh, it's very high tech stuff back in the PS2 era.
But you have to understand that the body image is pretty much, very much what this is when you play any Resident Evil game. The women always have big boobs. They're very shapely. You know, there's always some type of reveal with the clothing. So, I mean, this is pretty standard for a Resident Evil game.
Yeah. So, Les, as our resident expert of Resident Evil, would would you classify this as a female zombie?
Of course, just based on the breast. This is the high heels and the waistline. Yes, I would classify it as a female.
She looks kind of like a nun if you look from her neck up.
Yeah, so, and then the voice of this new entity kind of fluctuates between masculine and feminine. I think this is significant for two reasons. One, it plays into this trend of the antagonist turning out to be a trans person. And then two, part of me wonders if this character was created by a trans person, because a lot of trans people will say, oh, I wish I could just inject myself with medicine and then turn into this like feminine figure that's undeniably whatever my preferred sex is or preferred gender identity is.
Yeah.
So there's that. The game didn't even get that good a reception. I think
no, it did not.
It got very mixed reviews. So we can go on to something else. But I thought this was important to include.
This speaks to like what I'm going to be talking about in a little while, which is really transphobia, and the idea that a trans person is portrayed as the antagonist. The ultimate goal of transformation is seen as a negative thing. It's seen as something that is contributing to the evil part of this person, or the part that can't be trusted or liked. I think contributes to the overall transphobia that's going on right now, and the violence against trans people that we're seeing right now.
I agree. It's really upsetting that people still produce media like this.
Yep.
This is an older game, though. I believe the year this was made was 2003. So I think we have come away, and we're going to get into some newer stuff now that I say that. So this next game is actually an MMORPG. So it's a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. If you have not heard of this game, you are severely missing out, because it is a modern horror-themed MMORPG. Any ideas what it might be?
No.
I have no clue.
This game is called...
Is it called The Secret World?
Yeah. Every conspiracy haunting is true in this game. Everything. And
Cool.
You like go around and you fight ghosts and werewolves and demons, and you solve complex like Illuminati type questing clues. Honestly, it's one of the more fun MMORPGs that I've played. I have quite a bit of playtime in this game.
This looks like fun.
It's so good. The questing actually requires you to do some research, like, I don't know, translating Latin or reading a Bible verse to solve some of the quests that you come across in the game.
I don't have the patience for that. Sorry.
If you're really into investigation, it's perfect.
Oh no.
So there's a couple of characters you can interact with in this game that I wanted to go over. The first, here we have Sandy Moose Jansen. He's gay, and he's a male biker who yearns for male police officer Andy.
What?
That's sweet.
When you talk to him, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So
does he live in that trailer behind him?
He lives in this little town. I think this is in the first area that you start out in. And as I'm going through these characters that just inhabit this world as is. What we know of them being gay is them just existing as someone, and that's like a fact adjacent to their plot.
Yeah.
Which is an important thing, I think, in representation. Next we have the two Braga brothers. They are bisexual. They're found in Transylvania, and they hit on your character a little bit. So this might be less adjacent, but it's not even a large part of the story, right? So this is one of them in the screen here.
Look at that muscle shirt.
I know.
And two brothers that are both bi.
Yep.
Awesome.
And they're in Transylvania.
Very interesting.
I love that they're in I love that they're in Transylvania more, actually.
So, enough with the men of this game. Can you spot the lesbian?
Oh man!
Which one could it be? I don't
So
know.
this is Zaha, and it's just another one that it's like one of those things that, if you're not gay and you come across this character, you might not even make the connection, but it's very obvious. She pops on screen and you're like, oh yeah, I know.
Is that her hair, or is she wearing a hat?
Oh, that's a hat.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that's a little extreme.
So it's a hat. I mean, it's still, the hat is honestly just as extreme as if it was the hair, in my opinion.
She still looks good though.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say I totally love her. I totally like her aesthetic here.
Me too.
I love how she's dressed.
This whole aesthetic of the game is fun. It's like you can play something like WoW that's like medieval fantasy, but you play this and you're playing with other people, but you're dressing up in like street clothes and an assault rifle to go kill ghouls with.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Now let's look at the lady on the other side. She is totally 90s and has a Karen haircut.
Yes.
What?
And this game came out in like 2011.
I like her clothes too.
I don't have the name of her, unfortunately.
I guess that was like what Britney Spears wore when she was flashing her hoo-hee to all the paparazzi.
That's her midriff top, like it's a little midriff, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So our final one from the secret world is a trans woman. Actually, they have a trans woman in the game.
Wow.
Kaoru.
Look at that outfit.
Right? And it's just another one of those characters that exists as is. And that's why these characters inhabit the game, but I actually think the game is really good on its own. And it tells really good stories. And I think it was often overlooked kind of during its peak player count.
I love that they just inhabit the game. It's not about them. It's not, there's not some drama associated with them. They're not the psycho killer. They're just inhabiting the game.
They're just inhabiting the game, and it's a fun game. And, as a queer person, you're playing it and you come across these types of characters. It's like, it's fun because they're just inhabiting the game.
Totally.
It's normal.
I love it.
Okay. So our next game is actually a very recent game. 2020. If you play video games at all, I'm sure you've heard of this one. It is based off of some old Greek mythology. It's on every console and PC. And that game is Hades.
Oh.
Now, this is a game that people might not actually associate with having a lot of queer characters, but it does.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, so we have the muscle person.
Right? So the game is actually very it's a roguelite, so every time you play it, it's going to be a little different. And the whole concept is you're playing Hades' son, Zagreus, who is actually on the cover here and is also one of our queer characters, trying to escape from the underworld. I forget there might be a more specific name.
So cool. Is this a horse on his back?
Yeah, I think it's a dog, Cerberus, maybe.
Yeah, it might be Cerberus because it has two heads.
Wow.
So he's the son of Hades, and I actually haven't gotten deep enough in this game, but apparently there's potential love interests, and you can start one with Thanatos, who's going to be our next god in this. So people have speculated that he's bisexual or pansexual as the main character, because you can start like a love interest with one of the gods rather than the goddesses, which is just a neat touch, right?
As it should be.
Exactly. So our next character is Thanatos. He's the god of death. And yeah, if you want to ship it, you can. So I'm gonna move on to the next two because I think that they're actually, a little more canon. So we have
a gay dad,
Achilles. Same thing, gay dad.
Wow. love.
And his partner, which this is fan art, Patroclus.
Oh, Patroclus, he's dark.
Mm-hmm. But are you ready? I found this fan art of the two of them.
Working that melanin.
What? Look at those googly eyes they're giving to each other.
Exactly. So this is courtesy of Instagram handle at XELGOT. So definitely check this artist out if you like this.
Gorgeous art.
Very gay, very great. And you should honestly check this game out. It won like a ton of awards last year.
Wow.
Like
what
was the name of this again? Hades?
Hades. Yep. You can play it on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, anywhere. It's really been a well-received game. And finally, I think that this is a game/series that should surprise no one if you play video games.
I know what it is. I think
it's a zombie-related game. A specific type of zombie, though. It's not an infection. It's not a disease. It's a fungal infection type zombie. So if you get infected with this fungus, you become a zombie.
Is it like Athlete's Foot?
It's The Last of Us.
Oh, The Last of Us.
Yes.
One of the most iconic, I think The Last of Us for me is probably the game of the decade, 2010 to 2020. Hands down. It's one of them. It was the first most beautiful game that I played all the way through. I just wanted to sit in the world and soak it in because it's that good.
Wow.
You're not the first person I've heard say that about this game. People have an emotional connection to this game.
It's like playing a movie that is a really good movie. It's that good.
Wow.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably the first game I cried at. Cool. So our first character might be another one that if you haven't picked up all the lore in the game that you wouldn't suspect, but this is Bill. He's a character who helps Joel and Ellie during their journey, and it's very heavily implied, but honestly just says that he's gay because you find notes writing about his lost lover that died, Frank, and how he doesn't love him anymore because he's been dead for so long. And it's really sad.
That's so tragic.
But this is another one of those things where these are just side things you can pick up. It is in no way like a part of the story. It's just about, more context for the character.
He would be categorized as a bear, I think.
I am inclined to agree with you.
Yeah.
And finally, the spoiler alert, but I don't think it's a spoiler. Ellie is very gay. So she is like one of the main characters in the first one and definitely the main character of the second game. She's super gay, and a lot of people got upset about this fact.
Yes, I remember.
They thought that they were trying to SJW type stuff into my video games, but it's like no, this person is just really gay. I mean, the character felt like they were modeled by Elliot Page when this game first came out, which should have been a tell.
Yeah,
really?
Yes. Her first images looked just like Elliot Page, but I found out that Elliot Page didn't model this. It was someone else that looked like her.
That they definitely archetyped this character after Elliot Page when the game
looked like him actually, because it was Ellen Page at the time, modeled after Ellen Page, and now looks like Elliot.
So in the second game,
I have a question. How is she really gay? She's not just gay, she's like really gay.
Because so explain, Annabelle.
In the second game, you pretty much play the whole game with her girlfriend at your side, Dina.
Cool.
And it's just one of those things that not only are you playing as like this strong female lead, but it also has like these really realistic feeling relationship moments between them the whole time. Like, it's not, I honestly don't think it feels forced or like pushed in here just for the sake of, but a lot of people, I guess, had that impression that it might.
What are you saying, that people have the impression that it was forced, and
because
that they thought that they were implying?
A lot of straight men that get real mad if you know,
you mess with their straight world.
You mess with their straight world, yeah. So
yeah.
So you mean straight
like
men?
They don't have 99.9% of the other games out there.
No, but you're saying that a straight man who had a crush on the character, the main character,
no longer gets to live their fantasy.
They're no longer gets to live their fantasy. Exactly.
Sorry.
So, some guys like two ladies.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, there is probably that content. I mean, there's PDA here, but not enough that I would say that a man would find to be, you know, given an attraction to, in the way that men would want to look at that type of PDA.
Good for
them. You know what I'm saying? You know,
whatever. I'm stoked to play a game with like strong gay female leads.
Listen,
I'm picking up what you're throwing down, Les.
Here's something that was very interesting to me, and we've discussed this before. My favorite all-time game ever is Mass Effect, and with Mass Effect, you know, it was banned in China because you actually model the character after yourself. But there is a character that the game automatically puts you in a little love relationship with, and the character is she's I guess she would be considered gender fluid, because this character can be appealing to both males and females, and this is what the race is made out of. Their alien race is made out of this type of having love relationships with intersectional, inter-alien type of relationships. So they banned it because if a female was playing Mass Effect, you have this love scene that is actually played out before the main character, Commander Shepard, goes on to this big battle. And you actually see the love scene. You know, there is flashes of skin and everything. I have to tell you, I was not expecting this love scene. It was my first lesbian relationship I've ever had. And I literally screamed through the whole thing like this. But then
we all remember the first lesbian.
Yeah, our first lesbian encounter,
it's
right?
True.
I was like, but don't you know, I kept that bad boy, because I was like, I'm going to show this one day to somebody, because the character looks just like you.
Yeah, and you know, there's actually a lot of games when I was putting together this list that are kind of like that, where you can play either a male or female main character and have these relationships in them. And that's actually pretty common, I think, in a lot of games now.
It's
where
very
that's
common.
An option. So I decided to kind of go with ones that had more intentional queer characters. But I do want to give a call out to games like Fallout, Cyberpunk, Mass Effect. These were some that I went over, and you can do that in. You can even be like a trans person in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options now for actually making a character that feels like you and one that you want to play.
And that's the thing is that we have gamers from all walks of life. Why not give them content that makes them feel good? Nobody cares when they're playing the game.
But we're ruining the straight guys' experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
As
But
if every minute of our lives.
When you're playing these characters, you don't care. You don't care when you're playing with other people. You don't care.
Oh, poor straight people. That's sad.
Don't say that. Wait a minute. Now, I am a straight person, so y'all can't say that, right? Whatever.
Whatever. You have to endure this.
Must be so difficult for you.
Yes, it is. It's so difficult. It's so difficult. All right, so let's move on to our next segment, and that would be this is your segment, Augie. And that is transphobia and horror.
That's right. And I wanted to talk about this because of what Annabelle and I spoke about earlier, which is, you know, we have these early images of trans people, and they're always depicted as these killers. You know, they're the ones that have some sort of mental problem. They're dealing with it the way they're lashing out when it comes to in violent ways, and their private lives are dealing with their sexual desire to be another gender. and it's and somehow mixed in, in this mix of killing is there like transformation. It's mixed into the killing sort of ritual that they do. And I wanted to call this out because it's something that is just, every time I watch these things, it just annoys me. It annoys me that we equate trans with violence or kill or not being mentally stable or any of those negative things that you associate with these. And so I just wanted to call some of these out and give a big boo to all of them. Anyway.
In actuality, the violence is more predicated on the trans world as opposed to the other way around. In other words, what I'm saying is that more violence is committed towards trans people than the other way that we see or experience in film, especially in particular horror film.
Of course. And it's just so, it just feels like such a misunderstanding of what trans is. And it's sending a very strong signal that there's something wrong with trans, and it just is wrong. So the first film I want to talk about is a film called Homicidal. And why do I want to talk about Homicidal? Because we all know about Psycho. I mean, we've talked about Psycho on this show before. That of course came out at a time when the very end sequence was horrifying, and you have this person who's imitating his mother. Well, this came out just a year later. So the film follows a murderous woman in a small California town whose presence unearths secrets concerning a prominent local family. It was sort of, when it was released, it was trying to ride the coattails of Psycho. It was released just a year before. And when it was released, kind of interesting, they had a gimmick. They had a promotional gimmick that said, every movie when it shows, it's going to have a fright break, a break in the movie that allowed patrons to receive a refund if they were too scared to stay for the climax of the film, which is so kind of genius and horrifying. So the other thing that drew attention to the film was the producer offered every audience member a $1,000 life insurance policy from Lloyd's of London against death by fright during the film.
Oh my gosh.
So part of the film was actually produced by an insurance company. So to promote the film, they would show TV commercials with previews focused on the life insurance policy on the film, which I thought was hilarious. So this was probably something that was, one of this director called William Castle, one of his best known movies. But he actually, when Psycho was coming out, he was actually working on another well-known movie called 13 Ghosts.
Yes, that we all know about, the original.
Yes, the original 13 Ghosts. He was actually working on 13 Ghosts when Psycho came out, and this was the following movie after 13 Ghosts.
He had those gimmicks throughout any of the films that he worked on, because I do recall 13 Ghosts having a moment where if you were too terrified of the film, you could leave the theater. So yes. That's
exactly right. So he was known for his gimmicks to get people in there. The main character here is sort of a woman who changes sex to a man. I think the character flip-flops between a man and a woman. It's what's kind of interesting now at the time. This is 1960, right? So this is a moment in time when when people weren't too supportive of this. They make repeated reference to Denmark and the characters being from Denmark. Now, which is kind of interesting, but at that moment in time, in the early 60s, Denmark was the only place where a transsexual operation were being routinely performed.
There's even a famous movie about this called The Danish Girl.
The Danish Girl, exactly. Yep. Yes, that's exactly right. So, so it's kind of if you're in the know, it's kind of an interesting movie to think about, that all the characters are from there. And the lead, who was female, had to actually get her hair cut like a man's and dyed brown, wore brown contact lenses, and had prosthetic appliances made that altered the shape of her nose, mouth, and hands. So we just had one actor. They were thinking about doing 2 actors, but they just had one actor do both characters. By the way, this is a movie that is really championed by John Waters. This is one of his favorite movies. He thinks that this is actually a movie that has been groundbreaking for transgender people.
I will say too that Jean Arliss played the first Marilyn Munster too, didn't she? She was
yes,
the first.
She did.
Yes, she played the first Marilyn Munster.
Yeah, she did. So, so the next one that I'm going to talk about is called Dressed to Kill.
Oh, goodness.
Yes. Who remembers Dressed to Kill? Who has seen this movie?
I haven't seen it, but I've seen plenty about it. So
I love this movie. Although, the tropes and that are in this and the stereotypes that are in this are there. This is by far one of my favorite Brian De Palma films. That's
right. And you're absolutely right. It was directed and written by Brian De Palma. It starred Michael Caine, Angie Dickinson, Nancy Allen, and Dennis Franz, of course. And it's about a mysterious blonde woman who she kills one of her psychiatrist patients and then goes after a high-class call girl who witnessed the murder. And of course, it stars Angie Dickinson. So who was famous for what TV show?
I could see her. Oh my God, Policewoman.
Policewoman. That's exactly right.
I'm telling my age.
So there was a scene that was filmed in New York at the back of a taxi cab on location. And there were several gawkers who observed the scene and shouted, "Right on, policewoman," while she was filming the scene, which I thought was hilarious.
The thing about her is that she was a sex symbol back in the day. So this was not uncommon for her to personify this sexiness on screen. I mean, this is what she was known for. So that scene in the cab, as well as some of the other sexual encounters in this cab that she has with this man that she just meets at the museum, it was pretty provocative and groundbreaking at the time to actually show, and somewhat explicit. The movie's sexual overtones were very
in your face.
Yeah, very in your face. Especially her illicit encounter with some stranger when she's actually a married woman. And I'm not going to give away the details. I will say that this is typical Brian De Palma, where it does have a lot of shock jump scares, but it is a really good movie. But go ahead.
There is a scene in here where Angie Dickinson is sort of doing a little dance with the person who she's seducing, and he's sort of interested, and it takes place in a gallery, an art museum. And that's actually 9 minutes of the film. 9 whole minutes are just the seduction piece, and there's 0 dialogue for 9 minutes.
Yep.
As we focus on that. So very interesting. So Brian De Palma actually wanted to begin the movie from the transsexual side of the story, which I thought was very interesting. And it also makes a deliberate point of clearly stating that normal transgender people just happen to be in the wrong body, and shows us a police officer that was trans in the movie, and talks about that, where they talk about, and I'm going to do a little spoiler alert, where the killer's, I won't tell you who it is, the killer's murderous character has troubled mental health conditions that go way beyond being purely transgender. Mm-hmm. So they actually took an effort to try and talk about gender and gender, what it means to be trans. So I thought that, okay, we'll take that. But still, you still have the antagonist. You still have the character of the killer as a trans person, which I think is really too bad.
And I think that the overall thing about finding out who this character was, it was very shocking, and it was definitely good for the shock value. But to say is that this character was stimulated by a sexual impulse is why this transgender character was killing people, you know, because it could not explain, or this character could not decide what side of the fence, I guess, that he, she, or it wanted to be on. And so in that sense, I think that was very convoluted, because in my opinion, it was the premise of actually saying that someone who is dealing with this inner struggle is therefore homicidal. And if you think about this film, and when you finally do see it, based on who we find out is that character, it really messes up your mind.
Right. I agree. Now, the movie originally also wanted to start with the killer, who's disguised through lighting and clever photography, performing his own ad hoc sex change operation in a bathroom.
Oh, come on now. Come on now.
Yeah, but instead it was changed to Angie Dickinson fantasizing in the shower.
Okay, see, and this is why this pisses me off now. Now I'm starting to be pissed off about it.
Let me hear it.
Because once you find out, and this is a spoiler alert, I'm trying not to give anything away, but once you find out who this character is, that just doesn't make any damn sense.
Yep, it's true.
That's just all for sensationalism.
I agree. By the way, this movie was originally rated X, and Brian De Palma had to fight the MPAA to get it down to rated R. But they didn't talk about what he had to cut, though. So I'm not sure if it was if he cut anything. I'm not sure if it was anything. I guess it was the sex scenes. But by the way, how many minutes of screen time do you think Angie Dickinson has in this movie?
Oh, it can't be more than 15 minutes.
It's 30 minutes. 30 minutes of screen time. Yep.
Yeah. And just a little note too, this is Karen Allen, who was married to Brian De Palma at the time. So, you know, she was the star in a lot of his movies. I'm not saying that Brian De Palma is a bad director. He is one of my favorite horror directors, but I think that he, just like everybody else at this time period, was very misguided about transgender stories and transgender life. And so, yes, it was shocking, and yes, it did grab your attention, and yes, people were very surprised to find out who the murderer was, but it didn't do it justice, you know. And given like I said, the background of the killer, it just doesn't make any sense.
I agree. And let's move on to the next movie, shall we?
All right, let's go on.
Now, the next one we all should know. Annabelle, I don't know if you've seen this, but we've definitely talked about it. It is Sleepaway Camp.
I have seen. I saw this after the first time we talked about it.
You did.
Oh, you did.
And I can't see you, but I'm assuming that was a okay thing.
That's the end of the movie.
Yes, it sure is. It sure is. That's the end of the movie.
It's about Angela Baker, a shy, traumatized young girl sent to summer camp with her cousins shortly after her arrival. Anyone with sinister or less than honorable intentions gets their comeuppance. They sure do, and they get to wear really short shorts in this movie too. Like,
this is seriously 1980s short shorts. Agenda here.
Like, I was just like, I feel like I could see this person's insides. Like, I can't believe like that was even approved. Okay,
it was overly sexualizing the teenagers in this film.
Yeah, I agree. So it became an unexpected hit. It actually made 30 times more than what the producer spent on it. And do you know the writer and director actually went to this summer camp as a kid?
I did not know that.
Wow.
Very interesting. The one actually filmed where they filmed this movie. Felissa Rose, who's the lead in this, She was paid only $5,000 for her performance, which may be good for 1980. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, well, no, that isn't good. That's a cheap budget. But the thing is that it just basically solidified her in horror history. We're all going to know her for this. $5,000 is just, this is definitely what you would get paid for an independent film, because I'm sure they shot many days. By the way, is this camp in the East Coast? Because it looks like the East Coast.
It is in the East Coast. They actually shot in the fall, and they had to spray paint the leaves green. And they also spray painted the grass green.
Wow.
So that's great.
Yeah. So guess who was supposed to be the antagonist? Now, in the previous, I think there was a previous, go back to like a previous picture. One more. There. The woman on the left, she doesn't play someone that you very much like in the movie. She's like not the nicest of people. Well, guess who was supposed to play this? Jane Krakowski.
What? Oh my gosh, she would have been perfect for this role, though.
Jane Krakowski, originally cast to play Judy. She was originally cast. She dropped the role when she learned of Judy's death. She found it too grisly.
What was she? Dang it. Hello, girl. You're doing a horror film.
I know.
Oh, Lord.
Crazy. Now, this is one of those rare slasher movies where the victims are almost all between 12 and 15. So it's kind of young. Usually they're much older than this. So it's sort of like pushing the boundary of sexualization. Also, a couple of people get attacked but not killed, which is usually not something that you see in a slasher movie. Usually the outcome is pretty defined. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there is the reason why this is on the list is because of the big reveal at the very end of the movie. And there's the on the right side. On the right. Okay. Okay, there. So just keep that up for a second. So the climactic scene was accomplished using a nude man wearing a mask of Felissa Rose's face. The thin man who stood in for Angela was a college student who needed to get drunk before he was able to do the scene.
I actually did not know that part about it. That's hilarious.
Oh yes. So this is one drunk, naked college student wearing a mask, and a kind of interesting thing that happened at the very beginning of the movie that is very rarely caught, and it happens pretty quickly. But when Angela is first, like she does her first appearance in her bag, she has a bag with her, and her bag actually is a reference to the original Sweet Transvestite, Dr. Frankenfurter in 1975's Rocky Horror Picture Show, foreshadowing Angela's twist ending.
Oh, so that was meant to be. It was an Easter egg. Oh, wow.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is great. Wow.
So this shocked so many people. And to this day, if you go on Felissa Rose, I follow Felissa on Insta. She just tours around the country and she has tons of fans and she has tons of pictures where she's making this exact face. It's hilarious, actually. All right. So shall we go to the last one?
Yes, let's go to the last one.
All right. The last one is a movie that I just watched a week ago on Netflix called The Clove Hitch Killer.
Ooh.
Yes, this is.
Oh, this is the one you messaged us about.
This is the one I was angry about.
Yes.
So this is the perfect family is shattered when the work of a serial killer hits too close to home, and it stars Dylan McDermott, and he's terrific in it. He's absolutely terrific, and this is his son. This guy plays his son, and the plot actually is heavily inspired by the BTK killer.
Wow.
Yeah. So like the character in the film, the BTK, Dennis Rader was his name, BTK killer. Rader was a Boy Scout leader and known as a devout leader of his church, similar to this character. He had a seemingly normal life, all while terrorizing a community over a decade. Much like the character in the film, Rader had a hobby of creating pornographic collages, which his son accidentally stumbled across, though never suspected his murderous secret. Rader was obsessed with extreme bondage, pornography, and violence. And what you see in this is the killer dressing up like a woman and taking violent photos of himself, like hanging. In order for him to be sexually stimulated, he has to dress like a woman.
Okay, but what's that got to do with him having a thing for torture and binding? What, I don't understand.
No idea. And that's why I was like, it just threw me the heck off. It was like, all you needed was someone who was like obsessed with, things that are different. You didn't need to have the character dressed like a woman. Right? But he did. Like, that was what he needed to do. So for me, that revealing shot took place, 2/3 into the movie, and it just kind of, there he is. He just kind of ruined it for me. It was like, he has to, in order for him to be satisfied, he needs to dress like this.
But did it go into any explanation for why this was satisfying for him and why this caused him to be to be a serial killer, to brutalize people?
Nothing. You're just supposed to understand that dressing like this equates to being not normal, violent, and crazy.
That's screwed up.
Yeah.
It pissed me off so bad because there was no indicator at all that this person
and it adds nothing.
Had any trans.
It added
zero. It was zero. Exactly.
Well, I'm thinking, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, that this may have had some Ed Gein type of appeal to it. So Ed Gein, as you know, was the first serial killer that was discovered. It was like so horrific. He actually took women's flesh and he made things out of it. And he put women's clothing on and women's faces and all this other kind of stuff. So, maybe that's what they were trying to get to, is that BTK, or this character that was similar to BTK, had some kind of fascination, the same type of fascination that Ed Gein had. I just think that if that would be the case, they should have implied that in the film instead of just actually showing up this, because this gives such a negative overview and it perpetuates the horrific stereotype of trans in horror films. So just by putting it in there and sensationalizing it, and for no reason at all, it makes no sense.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was really sad to see.
Well, similar to Silence of the Lambs,
yep,
where we had Buffalo Bill dressing up like a woman. I saw something today about that, was basically saying that he was not trans. He just was gay, but he did not know how to express himself. And so therefore what he did was he dressed up like a woman because it made him feel more feminine. I would just basically say that he was a serial killer who dressed in drag, basically. But they actually explained it in this YouTube video that I saw, and I was like, but you never knew that. All you knew is that he didn't identify with the sex that he felt that he was inside, and so therefore he was doing things to mimic a female because he wanted to be a female. They said it had nothing to do with being transgender whatsoever. And I think the misconception of being transgender is something that we need to really address when it comes to horror films, because in my opinion, everybody that I've ever met that was trans does not have these kind of crises.
That you know of. Well, that you know of.
I've never seen a trans serial killer that I know of. None of them. But let me just say again.
Wait, look to the side. There you go.
Let me just say.
There you go.
Let me just say this. What I mean by crises is they're fully aware of who they are on the inside. I watched a film today called Transmilitary, and I'm telling you, the identity of these people, there is no confusion. The only confusion is your perception of it. Because when they make their transition, they are fully male or fully female. I don't see them as any other way. And I saw the transformation of these people who had signed up for the military from their childhood. They already knew that they were, maybe born male, but knew inside they were female. There is no confusion here. They know exactly who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's very frustrating to me too. I thought this was lazy, and I thought it was very, very poor and misinformed. And you're only perpetuating the stereotype that has been going on for since the late 50s, early 60s. And it for some reason we're equating trans with killer, and that just has to stop, in my opinion. I think it's sending a strong, negative, horrible message, and we already have a group of people that have way too much violence against them, that are already targets.
When did this movie come out? The Clove Hitch.
Last month. Oh no, I think it was filmed last year. But it started showing on Netflix last month.
I think what we're really saying here is that people are associating trans with confusion, and that this confusion causes violence. Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what I was making my point about. There is no confusion with the individual. The individual surely knows who they are.
Of course. Everyone else usually is the one that has to figure it out.
Well, this is the truth. If anything once makes you want to murder somebody, is that if you know you identify as a male and somebody's trying to make you dress like a female, that would make you murder somebody. Not to say that's justifiable, but I'm just saying, you're forcing somebody to be somebody that they're not. How horrible that is. But I don't see it equating it to violence. I see it more so being the person harming themselves than anybody else.
And that's why we have a high trans suicide rate.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm very pissed off about that. Yeah. I would highly recommend people seeing Transmilitary, by the way, because it was a really good film. And if you want to understand the trans life and what happens when you are in a male-dominated community or society, or is it trying to make you conform to a gender that you don't identify as, that movie is an excellent movie. And you can find it on Amazon Prime.
I might watch that tonight, actually.
Very good. I cried a lot in that.
Maybe I'll wait for tomorrow.
Well, there's some joyful cries in it, but it's just sad because I just can't imagine.
Yeah.
Not being my authentic self. And somebody forcing me with the threat of not being able to perform in the military, and forcing me that I would be kicked out unfavorably because I did not identify for what you thought I should identify as. It's a very good film. There is a perspective in there that when you finally do watch it, that is from a Christian perspective. And I have to tell you, as a Christian, this woman said it best. In the film, it's a pastor and her son is trans. And it was what she said in there that really broke me, that made me cry the most.
I'm going to look forward to seeing that. I'm definitely. Yes, very good. By the way, Amazon Prime has great movies for Pride Month. So does Hulu. Netflix has done a good job of that too, and so does HBO Max.
Yep.
Really good programming for Pride Month.
Yep. I think that if you are someone who considers yourself to be ill-informed about the LGBT community, you plug into some of these movies and actually see the humanness of and mostly in these documentaries of things that you don't know about, and educate yourself. Definitely.
All right. That is the list.
All right. So we will be back here next week at 8:00. We're going to be finishing up with our segment on the Djinns at the end of the month. And also, guess what's next week?
Gaming Week.
Gaming Week is next week because what is coming? Is
Dead
that
by Daylight?
Dead by Daylight. So I think that we'll be playing it that week, right? Or is it the week after?
We're playing it next week.
Yeah, next week.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil, yes.
Dead by Daylight.
25th anniversary of Resident Evil that we're going to be playing Dead by Daylight. So we're really excited to actually show and reveal that game and possibly play in Raccoon City Police Station against Nemesis. So I'm really excited. I'm so excited about that. And then at the end of the month, we'll finish our other segments for Pride. So Augie, where can we find you this week if people want to look for you this week?
You can certainly find me on Instagram at Augie_ominous and find me right here.
All right. And Annabelle?
You'll find me right here next Thursday or on Instagram as well at Annabelle_Chimpton.
And you also play on Twitch.
I also play on Twitch.
Yes. And you'll find me here next Thursday and also Saturday with the Bit and Apple TV for Apple Bites. And that's at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, talking to everyone in the geek world, creators in the Greek geek world, artists in the geek world, and some celebrities from the geek world. And then Sunday night with Evolution Comics, Hash, who we miss very much. And I probably will be there with Mayhem, who is making an appearance on Sunday nights for This Week in Pop Culture with Evolution Comics. With that being said, thank you all for watching and hanging with us this evening. We really appreciate it. Go out there and educate yourself during this Pride Month and give us some feedback on what you think about some of the films that we talked about this evening. We definitely need you to like, subscribe, follow, and comment on everything and share our content. With that being said, we want to just tell you all, we love you all and stay spooky. See you next week here on the Tingling Tea.
Oh, yeah.